Welcome to episode number 3 of the WWIM podcast. That's Women Who Inspire Me podcast. Today's guest is the lovely, beautiful, smart, talented poet, writer, survivor, storyteller, and educator, Ashley Wonder. Was that a good introduction?
That was amazing. I need that for all my introductions, all my shows.
We'll put it on. That's you.
And your voice.
Thank you so much for coming.
I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. So tell us your story. What's your story, Ashley? How we met on the Storytellers Project from the Worcester Telegram, but how did you get there?
That's a great question. How long do we have?
Yeah, right.
So I always tell people, like, I was born famous, and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, I was literally birthed into, like, magazines and newspaper things because I was a premature baby. So 1 pound, 3.5 ounces in October 1983. Technology was not what it was now. You know what I mean? So, like, there's that, and then I dropped to under a pound.
Whoa.
So, yeah. And then some stuff with my nose and tubing. So I had to have surgeries done when I was 5, and that didn't go over so well. Like, I didn't have any bridge or like cartilage or nothing. Yeah.
So when you were born, they didn't think you were going to make it, correct?
No. The doctors told my parents to prepare the arrangements.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I fit in the palm of my dad's hand. So, like, my dad had big hands.
You're a miracle baby.
I'm a miracle baby. Yeah. Hence the name Ashley Wonder. Like, the one that comes from my uncle, he doesn't call me Ashley. He calls me Wonder Woman, like, my whole life.
Yeah.
So that we just combine the names.
So from birth to 8, and then you said age 5, you started having surgeries.
That was the first one.
Okay.
I had 3 more when I was 16. Oh my God. And it's wild because, like, I've been seeing specialists my whole life, right? Because prematurity, eye doctors are specialists because I don't have normal eyes. Like, I could have gone blind, so I had to see, like, a specialist for that. And then a specialist that did my nose, Dr. Constantian out in New Hampshire when I was 16. He worked on, like, famous people way back in the day. So we were like, oh, wow. And then he did 3 more.
Wow.
That's why I have a scar here, a scar that goes down here, scar on the rib, like a whole, like there's no cartilage in my right ear. All the cartilage is gone. And that helped groove my bridge and my cartilage in my nose.
So they took from your ear.
Yeah.
That's
and
amazing.
Then from here too. Isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
The pictures are freaky. I got pictures.
Similar to me, like when you were in your teens, you were kind of used to being in doctor's offices and getting procedures done or do you ever get used to it? I don't know.
No, right. It's always like uncomfortable, and they're always like fascinated because I have eczema too. So it's like I'm always like that rare case of like, oh, you're amazing, but like we need to heal you. I'm like, do you though? Do you?
Did you ever get doctors to surround medical students around you because they all want to know? Because you're so
yes,
that's happened to me. They're like, oh, we got to hear about this person. Like.
Yes, I love that you understand that because I'm like all the pre-med students. Oh my God! And your case file is like this.
Exactly. And they all, I got to hear about this person.
Right.
Like, and I actually, some people will be uncomfortable doing that, but I was like, hey, that's what you're in school for this. So I'm going to tell you everything I know.
Right.
About,
Right. If I can help you get your medical degree,
exactly.
Remember me though. Oh, they don't? Okay.
And then you said, I believe in your storyteller story, that around high school is when you had consequences to this. Some bullies.
Oh yeah, even before
nice
high school.
Oh,
yeah. I can remember from like elementary school, like before I went to like what's the public school system. Like Catholic school was great. Like that was like the time I remember being popular and all those things. Yeah. Where like sleepovers the whole night. So I'm like, oh, this is exciting. And then we go to what's the public schools, and it's like, oh, it's not
different story.
Whole different story. Kids are mean. And then you don't even know why they're being mean.
And what is it? Is it because just anything different is, you're just, it all comes down to fear, right? Yeah. Maybe if I'm nice to this person, someone's not going to be nice to me too. So I don't want that. So I'm fearing that.
Right.
And then they'll put you, anytime a lot of people are afraid of something, they'll put it down, right?
Right. I'm just trying to pass like 2nd grade. Like, I'm just trying to get to the next grade level. I'm not even talking to anybody.
Oh.
Like kids are horrible.
I can't imagine. And that's the thing is you already had a hard time to get to that point, and now they're making it harder.
Right, exactly. So it's like my brother was a huge basketball star, and he was 2 years under me. So it's like he had that, and I was writing then, but I
Right.
wasn't like sharing that with nobody. So it's
Right.
like, where's my groove? And then I found it in music, piano and saxophone. But
When did you start those?
when I was 13,
Okay.
my dad went to Berkeley, and he for drumming, and I couldn't keep a beat. He tried to teach me that way, and that I'm also half white, so I'm German Irish. So it's like it wasn't happening. So like pick something else.
That's hilarious.
And I couldn't decide because I'm a Libra, double-mindedness. So I'm going to do piano and saxophone because
Right.
I can't do just one. So we did both.
Nice. And
Yeah.
you liked it?
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Nice.
Still playing sax?
Yes.
And nice.
When I try to. Like, it's
Okay.
been harder now because 2 jobs, but like
Right.
I try to find the time when I can. Yeah. Not even for shows. Like, I mean, for shows because that's the extra plus of being a poet. But like,
Right.
yeah.
So when did you write your first poem?
Like the real one.
Like, well, or the first time you wrote anything that resembled. When was the first time you took a life experience and turned it into a poem?
That's a great question. Oh, let's see. I would say maybe possibly college. College was
Okay,
like
yeah,
the first
same for
one where
me.
I
Same for
started
me.
developing like an
Yeah.
actual like. I didn't know that it was like free writing, but
Right.
like in my journals, it wasn't just like dear diary. It was just like actual like forms of like breaking up the segments. So that's some type of poetry. I didn't know,
Yeah,
but
it's a
like
form of
that was the start.
expression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just like writing
Right.
like their diary stuff. It was like an actual form with like intentional like rhyming, like Cat in the Hat type stuff,
Okay, yeah.
just to start something
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
the brain flowing. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you, like, for me, I know writing kind of became an out, like, you have all this traumatic things happen to you. And I don't know, for me, like, my brain couldn't, not that my brain couldn't comprehend, but they're so intense that you need to, like, filter them out, channel them some way, or all that trauma, those traumatic things are going to be inside you. So they have to come out. And that, for me, poetry was that. I was just like, I'm getting this stuff, and I'm almost like not making a purpose for the stuff, but like at least it's where I'm getting something out of it,
Right, and it's not inside you still,
Right.
Yeah, especially when you don't share it with the world yet,
Right.
or like your family because they don't understand. What do you mean you were dark and depressed and try to kill yourself? Yeah, I did.
What did you do first? Publish a poem or read one aloud in public?
Read one.
Yeah.
People think I've been published poetically a lot, but like
Yeah.
not like I have over the years, but
Yeah.
like I can count like on one hand how many times that's been. That's not many.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's more just like the church was the first.
I was gonna say, you mentioned the church was the first time.
Yeah, that was the first time, and I love that church because it wasn't my church that I went to, but
Right.
like they pay you, so like they get it. So I'm like, yep. So like I'll come back every time.
You had a paid church gig?
Right? Not free for Jesus, like.
Was that in Worcester?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Worcester, John
okay.
Street Baptist Church. Like I love that church to this day because they were the foundation of like all the other churches after that in the
Okay.
city of Worcester. So it's like
Started doing. Was it an open mic or what? What did they do? Did they?
oh, not even. Yeah, it was just a regular, not like a regular special service. They had a program or something,
Oh.
like their women's program or whatever.
okay.
So like, and then that was kind of like the thing where like it was kind of catching on throughout the city. So then I'm going at Emmanuel. I'm going to all the other churches in the city, and they're like, "Can you do something for our program?" Sure. Mind you, it was all free because I didn't know at the time.
Right.
I'm allowed to charge people. I
Right.
can. Oh, I didn't learn that till my first slam team in 2015.
Oh, nice.
They're like, yeah, stop doing free church gigs. You're a professional poet now. We're in Oakland, freaking California.
But I mean, they didn't pay you, but you got paid in other ways, right? You connected with people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. And I still have those connections now.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
For the most part.
And then, so you're in Worcester. You're writing poetry. You're reading poetry out loud. When did you start? When was your first education? Like, what got you into education?
Oh,
What'd you say?
I was like, wait, what do I do?
Yeah, I think you work in education,
like
right?
16 years, yes.
Yeah, no.
It's funny because when I just graduated college, so 23,
Yeah.
and I actually remember my dad taking me out to like Friendly somewhere, and like I just applied on a fluke. Like I had no plans of like thinking I'd actually get hired. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm 23. And like, I don't know. Well, why not try education? Like, I didn't go, my degree's in like liberal arts, which I guess is a typical artistic degree program. People have told me. I'm like, okay. I'm also fluent in sign language. So that was the real reason why I wanted to get in the school system. Right. And I work with everything but deafness, but okay.
Was that just an undergrad course you took, or how did you?
Yeah. I actually fell in love with deaf culture, and ASL was actually at Catholic school when I was there for elementary, and then in college when I went to Quincy, where they actually have like ASL studies, and then I found out I have deaf cousins, and through deaf like friends, I'm like, oh, we're related. So I'm meeting you just now,
right?
And then it's like a whole thing happened where I'm like, I could probably use this somewhere.
Very cool.
So that's kind of how I got into education. Like I did it as a fluke. I'm like, okay, paraeducator. I remember when they called me saying I got the job, and it was cool. I was with my dad. You know, my dad's been gone for like 4 years now, so I may be talking about him a lot. But so that's kind of how that started. And I didn't know anything. 23,
right?
Like, special education, what? Like, and it wasn't even like behavior autism like it is now. It was just like, you know, IEPs and whatever.
Right.
So the whole education of how it looks for SPED is very different than where I started to what it is now.
For sure.
Yeah, so different. Yeah.
I started in a similar way. I just saw an ad. It was for a paraeducator at Westboro State Hospital. It was a locked facility for teenagers who had psychiatric issues. So really intense. Had no experience, no idea what I was doing, but for some reason I could do it. Like,
right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you had a similar experience. You applied for this job, you got it, and you immediately fell in love with it? Did it take time, or?
No, right. Yeah, that's a good question. It did take time because the kids think you're the same age as them. I'm like, well, I'm 23. Like I'm figuring it out, but like I think I like this. You know what I mean? And then you kind of constantly build relationships with all these students. You don't even realize you're building with them.
Right.
I actually found cousins of mine who I didn't even know were cousins because of like being in education. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, oh, we're family. We're related. I'm going to figure this out. And I asked my mom, I said, is this person a cousin of mine that like we just didn't know about? And turns out she was. I'm like, but I would have never found that out if I didn't like work in the school system. So I'm like, I literally found cousins I had no clue existed until I started being in the education system.
Wow. Any stories from your first few years? Funny stories, or like, oh my God, this is my job stories? Gosh, like before working with life skills, because I've worked in every type of like, you know, emotional learning, behavior kids where they say behavior, but they're just like, F you miss, like it's not like, you know, you just need a healthy way to process your emotions. Exactly.
That's all that is. Yes. You're not really a badass. Like I know you think you are, and actually I grew up in the same area as y'all. Those
are the kids for me in some way that were the hardest to work with. Is a kid that I know if he grew up in a different house, he'd have no issues.
Right. Exactly. Right. It's just the resources and what's around them. They're just in unhealthy environments. You know what I mean? That's all that it is. So it's like instantly all the kids love me because, I talk like them. I look like them.
You know the stuff they like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I could, when I started, it's like, this guy can talk to us about music and movies and, you know, TV shows. Now, not so much because I'm a lot older than them, but when I first started, for sure. What was the age group you started with?
That's a great question. It wasn't high school. Okay. It was middle school.
Okay.
And I kind of came into doing one-on-one work way back then.
Yeah.
I remember my first student was, she could talk, so she had autism. Again, so autism stuff. And I knew nothing about, like, secluded classrooms, and I got to take her to the bathroom and help her and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But, like, that was my first school, was a middle school.
Okay.
And
you were one-to-one?
One-to-one, yep. So I didn't know what that meant. So every 6 months, I was, like, being sent somewhere else. I'm like, what is this? I just got this amazing dope bond, and now I'm crying, and she's crying because I got to leave.
You're going to say goodbye. Yeah,
I didn't. Yeah, she left, and she actually moved to North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
I haven't seen her since. So I'm like, I wonder how she's doing. Like,
right?
Yeah, it makes me sad. I still have the picture that she, like, drew for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's a long... I have pictures of, like, almost every generation of kids who, like, draw me pictures. If, like, they're really good at something.
Yeah.
Well, I just draw me a picture. Okay, miss. So I got them all on my wall still to this day.
I had one student, and he would only draw elephant pictures. I have his elephant picture still, but that's all he drew is elephants. And he gave it to me like nice framed picture on the last day of school. And it's like those are the like.
I love it.
That's really why you do it, right?
Exactly, exactly. Those moments, and when they say like, thank you for helping Miss. Like you're the only people that see us. This is before I was doing autistic work and the resources, so like the bad kids, or like inclusion, and the teachers, like there was just a disconnect of like culture and understanding.
Okay.
I remember this one time, this old like teacher. I'm like, you need to like retire, bro, because it's like you don't get it, and like and he was so like terrified of this one kid because he's a tall, 6 foot black skinned guy, and can you talk to him because and I was like, because why?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Right.
What do you mean?
You should be able to talk to him.
I'm like, he's not even my assigned student. Like he's not on my list, but I'm like, I'll talk to him.
Right.
But I'm like, disconnect culturally.
Yeah.
You have a better rapport. I said, oh, that's how we call that? Better rapport? All the kids love me. What are you talking about?
Exactly. It's not just him.
It's not just him. It's all the nationalities. I don't know what to tell you. But like,
well, it's funny because I used to work part-time at the Worcester County jail. I worked
nice.
Part-time through Quinsigamond Community College.
Yep.
And we had to do a week of orientation, and that whole week, basically, they're trying to drill into our heads. You're teaching prisoners, and you're not teaching people. Like, you're not teaching humans. You got to, at all times, be ready to A, B, C, and D. And me and this other woman were like, well, no, we're going to treat them like people. We're going to treat them like humans because that's why we're doing this. Right. We're not going to be, that stuff could happen.
They are human.
Right, exactly.
They're human first.
And guess what? They love me. They thought I was great because I joked with them. I didn't.
Wait. You're not standoffish or uncomfortable.
Exactly. And you can't be that way. And if you give that emotion to a student, you're not going to get what you want back.
Exactly. Right. It's pushback all day long, whether they can talk or not. And that's what I've learned working with the population that I work with now. Yeah. My kid doesn't talk. You know what I mean? She can't talk. She's nonverbal.
Does she have an iPad?
She does not. No, she can't. We're doing pictures with her now.
Okay.
And that's a big step because I'm like, I've been with her 5 years, so all through high school we didn't have that. So she's hitting. Wow. That's just how
so
she
you've
communicates.
Been with the same kid.
5 years, yeah. 5 years out of the 8 years of doing ABA stuff.
Okay.
So
can you explain ABA to our listeners?
I know. I'm like, people don't know what that means.
I know what it is. I know kind of what it is. I've never actually been an ABA professional, or you're supposed to have is it not a degree or training in it before you do it? Correct?
You should have, right. So that part though, it's so applied behavior analysis is the big fancy word, which just means we take a lot of data. And I was just thrown into all the damn data. Like I like the data in the chats and all that stuff, but like it was before I was even with my student. I was with another kid, so she was with somebody else. I was with this other little kid from Africa, and like he was terrorizing everyone, roundhousing, spitting, like doing a whole thing where people were like leaving, and then they're like, Ashley, do you mind working with this student? I'm like, who?
They give you the hardest kids,
right?
Kids.
I'm like, it's because I'm black. No, I don't know, but it might be because everyone else was quitting. This one boy. Yeah. And once we made but once he realized that we were both black, he just kind of like stopped the roundhousing and the spitting. Like he only spit sometimes. Yeah. You know what I mean? But once he found that connection, and he realized, someone actually cares about me for me. Right. He did a whole 360. That's all he wanted.
That's basically what he was saying in those behaviors, right?
Exactly, right. And he could kind of talk, and he knew sign language. I don't know where the hell he learned it from. I'm like, you're from Africa. Where the hell did you learn sign language from? And that was our connection until he left, and like he brought my passion back for education because I was ready to quit. Wow. I was ready to say I'm done. So it's 10 years. I'm done.
You were meant to be put in each other's lives.
Right? I believe so. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Because now I have him and then the kid I'm with now. And everyone's like, wow, they're just so different. What happened? I'm like,
you.
But like me. I took all the hits, literally, and the spit, and the I did.
And that's part of ABA too, is figuring out, well, where's that behavior coming from and what's purpose it serves, right?
Yeah. Whether good or bad. Sometimes there's no innocent in it. So there's no behavior behind that. That's just because we don't know what they're thinking if they can't communicate it. They're just hitting the table, or they're hitting you, or they're throwing stuff on their desk, and we don't know why. You're on a break. This is your time to chill, and you're throwing stuff on your desk.
Sometimes they just want the stimulation, right? Just whatever.
Yeah, whatever's feeling, around them,
tactile or noise or whatever. They just want that.
Yeah.
So they can. I don't know if it's feel something or just they enjoy the
Yeah,
sensation
whatever the
or
feeling.
whatever
Yeah,
it
the
is,
sensory
yeah.
items. Yeah, yeah.
And
My
it's-
kid doesn't have any of that. She has
Okay.
little fairy toy things or
Okay.
an insect. I'm gonna get her a butterfly. I'm like, I'm not looking at this roach till the end of the year. Like, we're not doing that. So look at you with that cute butterfly since you like bugs now. You know
So
what I
you
mean?
must have a kind of a set schedule that you go through every day. Like, does she have a visual schedule or?
Not really, not
Okay.
anymore. I know for some kids they
Yeah,
do like the
yeah,
visual schedule,
yep.
so they got to see it and look.
Like,
But
oh, that's next, and
right, and the time.
Yeah.
Like some kids like that, but
Yeah.
she doesn't care. I just tell her this is what we're doing.
Does she even know like what time? If you say, "Oh, we're doing this in 5 minutes," would she know what that means? Or
I don't know because her behavior appealing is so like you got to be very strict with it, and you got to kind of be strict with her
Yeah.
because her mom loves that because she's strict with her. So
Yeah.
I'm like, and that's why people were having so many issues before because everyone was just like so terrified of her because of her hits. But I'm like, she's not giving you black eyes. You're not bruised. Like, put on a jean jacket, you're fine.
I was talking
You know?
to my mom the other day. Thank God she's growing up now, because like 50 years ago, she just would have been put in an asylum and not
Right.
taken care of or probably abused. And be like, back then it was just like you're normal or if you're not normal, you're put away. Like
Right. How awful is that? Shut from society.
Right?
Like, what is that?
right. And it wasn't that long ago.
It
Like,
wasn't.
That's the crazy part.
Right. Right.
Even
it's
when
scary.
when I was in elementary school, I didn't know the term special education. I knew there was a kid that acted out sometimes that teachers had to remove from recess, and he normally wasn't in our classroom. Sometimes he'd be with the other teacher. That's all I knew. I didn't know what that was.
Right. And same thing in my generation.
Yeah.
So it was the same thing.
Yeah.
And we're from two different generations, I think, right?
10 years
Got it.
off.
Okay, not too bad.
We're
So yeah,
close,
so it's
we're
same thing
close,
with me
yeah.
then. And that's insane. We just knew that they were just different.
Right.
That's it. They're just different. You know what I mean? Probably like a little annoying because I'm like, you again, bro, with the outburst. Like, but other than that, it's like
Yeah.
we didn't know.
And now Massachusetts, I don't know if it still is, but I know when I was in grad school, Massachusetts has one of the highest percentage of like if you take all the students in Massachusetts, the highest percentage of those that are identified as special ed, whether that's just one goal and objective they have on their thing or a plethora for many reasons. But
Right.
we have a pretty low threshold for giving students special education, which I think is a great thing. Because
Right.
you could have a kid who's great and everything else, but their behavior sucks. So yeah, they should have a behavior plan.
Right. They might
you
need
know?
a behavior plan
Yeah.
to like figure that out. And then like they're shining star now.
Yeah. How is your school? How actively do they let you participate in the planning of your students? Your students' plans. Do they ask for
That's a great
feedback?
question.
Do you actually write anything out?
I don't.
Or
I wish I did. I'd probably get paid more.
Right?
I'd probably get paid more.
Yeah.
Like below the poverty level. Like, good lord, we
I-
struggle.
I got a $500 check from the state of Massachusetts for being one of the poorest workers.
Me too.
Something state of Massachusetts.
"That's it."
What is wrong with you? Paraeducators should not be the poorest. We're
Right,
some
and we
of the
do the
poorest
hardest work. Right, we do the hardest work. I feel like more than
I
the
think
sped
I'm
teacher.
going to go to Westborough's the board of school committee meeting and be like, I got this check from the state of Massachusetts. So what's wrong? Do you agree with that?
Right. Thank you, Governor
Like,
Baker.
right?
Like that didn't help
I know
me
it's
with
not
anything.
their fault specifically, but it's a system wide.
Right,
I think.
it's everyone's guilty because I'm like, you want us to do all this work
And
and to
then-
literally get hit every day. Like,
Now, do you get sometimes if a teacher's out for like 2 hours for a meeting, I can become the teacher and get paid the teachers?
yeah,
Do you get that?
I
too?
like
Oh,
that. It
yeah.
doesn't happen too often.
No, it doesn't.
But it used to all the time,
Yeah.
and I loved it because again, I'm like, oh, if I get to run stuff, I want to run it the way I do, and then the kids
Yeah.
love it because I'm so different compared to the teacher. I'm playing music, we're dancing. Like, come on now, it's not gonna be quiet up in here.
I got something for our classroom called the 30-second dance party. So it's a button, and you hit it, and it just goes 30-second dance party, and then it just plays dance music for
Oh, I
30
love
seconds.
it.
And the kids love it. I teach
I love it.
preschoolers. They
Nice.
think
Oh, they
it's
must
the,
love that.
Oh, they think it's the best thing ever.
I love it. I bet they, being them so young, they need that little
they
break
need-
in routine.
Yes, they do. They
Probably
do.
like
And
constantly.
Now you mentioned a second job.
I do, yeah.
What is that?
I do. I visit home services first, so I'm doing ABA all
Oh
day
my
long. I go
goodness.
out to Oxford every day and do home services
Wow.
for.
Same age or different age or what?
She's 18. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I just fit with the older ones. Like the small ones are cute, but I'm like I can't do that anymore.
Every single day, every school day.
Yeah, yep, Monday through Friday.
So what's
Yeah.
your? You must get up pretty early. What time does school start for you?
I got to be there for 7-ish, so I'm up by 4:30, 5-ish, just to stretch and get my brain together. I'm not really awake.
Okay.
Till 9. I'm not awake till 9.
How many teachers do you know that are morning people? None of us.
No, wait, we can't be. My tea addiction gets
I was gonna say we're all caffeine addicted teachers.
Wait, I need my tea. It's a bad day if I don't have my tea on time.
Early, and you're in work at 7.
7, but I get out at 1.
Oh, that's okay. And then you're after school. When does the home stuff start?
Is at 4.
Oh, so
I get my nap in. My nap
nice.
is critical. You know what I mean? So I can get there on time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I gotta get that nap.
You must
in.
be exhausted by the end of the day though. Right?
So wiped.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even hit me yet, thank God, because she's a little scary. But you know what I mean? So that is, even with that, talking about sped, even if you're not getting hit, it's still mentally exhausting.
Oh my God.
Just because of the constant redirection. And waiting out the non-compliance.
You cannot chill out at that job.
You're on all day long.
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah,
you're on that
for every little thing.
Of course.
And
and especially if you're taking data, right? You're boom, boom.
Right.
Boom,
I got
boom.
clickers. I got a fanny pack. I got 3 different clickers. I got to keep track of what.
Do you have a utility belt? You should.
It's my fanny pack.
Okay,
but I should have a utility belt instead. That might look kind of cooler.
Then you could have your Ashley Wonder logo. You'd just be a superhero.
Right. I'm on it. I think I am.
Dress for the job you want, right?
Right. Exactly. My jean jacket. I keep my business cards on me, so I actually do pass out my cards at work to some people. I can't have all people because that was a thing. That was not okay.
So I know this is totally going away from education again. So you have 2 jobs. Do you have a certain writing time? Okay, I'm going to write between 7 and 8 tonight. Or are you just ideas pop in your head whenever and you write them down?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I let it flow now.
Yeah.
Because I used to be like, oh, I got to get this poem done. I got to memorize this poem. I got to do all this. But with COVID, that kind of stopped all of that. So if as bad as COVID was, as an artist, the gigs are still coming in, but not as frequently. So now I have time to write the poems that I want to write when I feel them, not because I got a gig next week,
right?
And then I don't have no time to memorize anything,
right?
You know what I mean? I don't. It's awful. Even when the poems that I'm deeply passionate about. That's a whole nother job in itself, is to memorize a poem, and that's just one poem. Right. Never mind a 20-minute set. People don't understand.
You've done 20-minute sets of poems?
Oh, yeah. A full feature set. You got to come out to a show. A full feature set is basically 20 minutes.
And you don't read any of them?
I read them from my phone.
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to. Because I'm if I'm doing I actually like the new seasons of poems that I'm in now.
Okay.
Because I'm not doing my sad grief poems anymore. Because grief does that. When my dad died, it jacked me all the way up. So it's I'm out of that season now. Thank God. So it's I do my happy dad poems or whatever.
So
you know what I mean?
Talk about writing seasons?
Oh, yeah. Don't people do that? Oh,
I've never heard of it. I love it, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because
just a season in your mind or season in your summer, fall, winter, or those...
Season in my life.
Yeah,
but even with the actual
chapter.
season.
I would maybe call that a chapter.
Chapter.
Yeah, but I see it's the same
thing. Yeah, because someone actually just asked me recently, what season am I in? So I guess that's a thing. So I'm that's weird that I haven't seen this person in ages. Yeah. So I'm it's really weird that this person asked me what season is your writing in now? I'm well, I'm not crying anymore. I was crying everywhere after my dad died. So again, the season of my poems. Yeah. I didn't. After my dad died, I was still going to all the open mics. I was traveling to Boston. I was going to Rhode Island, and my brother was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" Because they're home, my mom crying and stuff, and I'm like, "I gotta go."
Was it something you weren't expecting? Was it sudden? I don't.
It was.
Share what you want to share.
Yeah, I can talk about it now. It's okay. Yeah. It was. We knew it was coming, but not that fast.
Okay.
You know what I mean? July 4th of all days. Heard my mom screaming. I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And I went out to the kitchen and my dad's there and my mom screaming and we heard him take his last breath, which I thought it was just a regular breath.
Right.
So I'm you're still here, right? And that was that. And then we called 911. It was a whole movie. Everything was a blur.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My mom went down with my dad and they're taking him out to the thing. And then my mom called me after saying he was gone. I'm what are you talking about? And I don't even know how I got to the hospital.
Yeah, you
my brother called me saying, "I'll meet you there," and I'm like, "Who am I talking to on the phone?" I couldn't even recognize my own brother's voice.
Oh my goodness,
it was awful. And I parked in the wrong parking lot. Like I don't know where I was. I'm like, where am I?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find my dad. Like where do I go to find him? And I had no clue that was a whole different section.
Your brain didn't know how to process the situation, and you're just.
Nothing.
Really didn't know what to do.
Nothing.
Wow.
Shaking and like freaking out and like just it was awful. I collapsed on the ground. My cousin from Maryland was actually with us, and then she met me there at the hospital, and I just like completely collapsed and like hyperventilating and cried in her arms. And it was wild. And my brother's in California, so he couldn't like get here in time, so he felt really bad, and like, it was a whole different process for all of us.
Right.
Siblings. I'm my dad's firstborn and his only daughter, so it's like I'm a lot like him, which I already knew, but like I didn't really know until like after he's been gone. But he's always told me like same blood, so you got the same blood as me. So I'm like, I know, Dad, obviously. Mom's like, no, you're just like your effing father. So I'm like, oh, is that good or bad? It's good or bad, I don't know.
Yeah.
But writing is what helped me, you know what I mean? Then I found my first relationship after that, and that was really weird.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't make any sense at all either. That's a whole other conversation. Like, what the hell is that? Like
came out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere.
That's how
it came out of nowhere.
Like,
But it took my dad dying for that experience to happen. Because I'm like, I was 33 when he passed. I'm 38 now, so like, what is that? It's crazy. And all the poems that came from that, everyone's like, oh, that's such a beautiful love story. I'm like,
totally different.
No, it wasn't. Because we're both sad and depressed.
Well, I've looked at poems like, think of relationships. I've looked at some of my poems. I was like, wow, I really loved her. Like,
right?
You
don't realize it?
I haven't even thought about this person in a couple of years. I really loved her.
Wow. Isn't that wild?
It is.
Right.
Because you don't, like, the person that wrote that, I'm not even that person anymore.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I can't even do those poems anymore.
The weird, what poems kind of do is they record your emotional state at that very moment, no matter what, whether it's sad, happy, that's what you were doing at that. And that's why I think I love poems, because I have that. And I date them. I don't know if you date everything you write.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, right?
Even in my journal. Do you?
Yes.
Okay. I used to do that, but yeah, that does matter.
Yeah.
I like numbers, so I'm like, yeah, that numbers matter. Like, it matters.
Do you have, so you said you kind of write as things come to you. You don't have, I'm way more creative at, I would say, 8 o'clock at night on is
okay.
I'm way more creative in that time frame. I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, like if it hits me, like I'm writing like 3 or 4 poems right now, but just off of a whole dope poetic weekend I had last week, and I was out in Attleboro supporting some international poet friends of mine.
Nice.
So I'm just like, oh, I only come out to see y'all. You know what I mean? Like, I really want to open up for y'all. Like, when is that gonna happen?
Right.
You know what I mean? I got in for free. I was on the list.
Let me open up. Like,
right. I'm just like, you know me, damn it. I'm like, you guys are the people that inspired me when I first started writing poetry, and that's a decade ago. You know.
Wow.
So like when they come back to town, I'm like, we're cool now. But I'm like, at the same time, why am I not opening up for you people? Like, come on now.
And I was actually talking about this with Mark earlier. Your writing process, do you brainstorm an idea? Do you got one line that leads to a poem? Do you be like, oh, I'm going to write a poem about this because it's really what's on my mind lately? Do you have, is there any specific, or is it just kind of, how does a poem, and then do you edit poems? Do you like, how does that process work for you?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
Yeah, right. It depends on what I'm in the moment. Most times it's like emotional. Like I don't really do like life events anymore. Like even with, like the shooting that happened, or like Will Smith nonsense. Like I know poets are writing stuff about that. I've already seen videos. I'm like, I don't want to be that person to hop on that of like the Will Smith nonsense, or even like with the shooting. I can't even like process that. Like I just feel like numb inside. So that's kind of what I'm writing right now. Is like I don't cry.
Wait, it didn't make you want to go up and get a gun because so many people think we should have guns.
Wait, hell no, guns scare me. I'm like, why?
Do you know a teacher that would want a gun?
Wait, I'm like, wait, we don't want that.
Doing this.
Right. We didn't come in education to have guns on our side. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I think
that's one thing I know out of all this mess. Like,
right, I don't want a gun, and I want to bring it into school. Never, I'm working with the population that I work with.
Right.
Like, do you not know how safe that is? Right. Like, that's not the answer. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that's not it.
I do know it's a multifaceted issue that doesn't have one single, like one thing is going to solve it. And this is, a lot of people think sorry, I disagree with your idea. A lot of people think this is the one solution that will solve everything. No.
That or like bring police back in schools. I'm
Yeah.
like, that was never a thing either. So
yeah.
like, what are we doing?
Right. I mean, I can see that idea though. Like if there's a trained, in uniform armed officer at school, someone knowing that might avoid that.
Right. But will they though? Because I'm like, one thing, there's so many school shootings where this has happened, where like the officers were there.
Then they get shot, or
Right, and then they're only one person, so it's like, won't they need backup or something? Like, how does this work?
It's not working. I mean, that's
it's not working.
Like,
right?
I think can we all agree on that what we're doing right now, going with the status quo, but
right, something has to change. So that's usually what my process is, though. Like, it's something will hit me. Yeah. I love writing prompts though. Like writing prompts are like, so I don't really go off of like what's happening in the world sometimes, because I'm just like, that's exhausting.
Yeah. And
like everyone's writing their own poems about that stuff. So it's like, I want to write about different things now, like not necessarily like broadcasting, Black Lives Matter or whatever else, that type of thing. I'm like, I already got those poems, you know what I mean? So it's like, how many times can you keep writing about that?
It's the same story over and
right,
over
just
and
the
over
names change, but I'm like still the same like thing. So like whatever hits me, I tend to write now.
Yeah,
it's usually on my lunch break. If something hits me, then I'll write. You know what I mean? Or like after work, so like 6 o'clock.
Okay,
I'll do stuff.
We'll start with just a single line. Or a title.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a Facebook status. So I've taken two poems that I actually really love have come from just one line from a Facebook status. I don't even realize that's really like cool. The poem I wrote about my dad after he passed, that became a video that I did my first like visual video effect, and like that was amazing last Father's Day. So that came from a Facebook status. That whole entire like 2-minute poem came from a Facebook status.
Right. Do you do TikTok?
I do, but I feel old, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I have it, but like I don't know. People be looking at my stuff, but I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
You have a website? There's a website.
I do have I have my own website.
Yes, I know. Oh, what is it?
Oh, it's miraculous.vision.
Miraculous.vision. Yeah. To see all your poems, videos, everything. What's on there?
Yep. I got photo shoots. Okay. I was doing blogging at one point because a poet of mine out in Texas was started blogging. I'm like, I should do that. But I only made it to like blog number 4. And I'm like, I don't have time.
Just posting a poem or like
like actual
diary? Like
it's actually a continuing of like my whole like story of how I grew up and everything in blog form.
Oh, okay.
And like a continued status of like that and like other traumatic things that happened to me, like in a whole different perspective that's not a poem.
Ever think of doing an autobiography?
Oh, no, but that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool.
It's so easy to publish now. I mean,
I know, right? And I still want to do like my first published poem. I actually thought about that. How you said that you would help me, so like we could probably like figure that out
for sure.
Like that would be cool.
Yeah.
Like,
how many poems do you think you've written? Like how if you put all your poems,
all the years,
not all the poems you've ever written, but all the poems that you think are book worthy.
Oh, right.
Hundreds.
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah. Probably in the thousands. Thousands at this point.
Do you have like journal? Like, do you write everything down first, or typing, or what do you?
I do both. I actually do both. Like I have tons of journals, and I'm like, oh, those poems are so bad. I'm just like, and then not even
look back and you're like, oh my god,
right? I'm like, and I was doing this in front of people, like, oh my god, like I can't. But now what I do is, when I'm excited about a poem, like in my phone, then I'll write them out in my notebook. So now it's like, now my notebook poems are poems that I actually want to have in there. Okay. So when I do like online shows where I gotta have my notebook with me, I can't read off my phone because it's on my phone to do the show. It's like, oh, okay. So that's how that goes.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Any poems you'd care to share with us?
Oh.
Is that putting you on the spot too much? Or?
It is. I mean, it's
okay, then we don't
no, it's not. I just gotta think of one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No. Let me think. Where's my phone? It's not in my back pocket.
Did you leave it outside?
No, it's here somewhere. It was in my back pocket. Oh Lord.
If it's not in there, it's not.
Oh no, it is. Look at that. Cool. So I'm just like, I know if I left my poem with my tea. Tea is critical to life. Wait, what kind of poem do you want to hear?
It's your call. What do you want to share with our listeners?
Maybe something happy.
Okay. We could use more happy in this world.
We could use more happy in life, right? I got to go through it so we can just keep talking while I think of what does my happy poems look like?
I wrote a poem called My Happy Poems and how they're in the minority.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when you're happy, why do you want to write about it? You're just happy, just enjoy it.
Exactly.
But when you're sad, you're dwelling, you're by yourself. You gotta express that somehow. But when you're happy, why?
Exactly. I actually have a poem about food. That's like my happy poem.
Okay.
One of my many happy poems. I wonder if it's on here. And let me see if it's on here. I feel like it has to be. And what inspired, and this is what I think even funny poems are about, or happy poems. Damn, I don't know if it's on here. But I'll keep looking. But what inspired that poem is like how much I love food.
Nice.
But because I'm so small, people think like, oh, you can't eat any food.
You love food.
I'm like, of course I do. I'm like, just because, like, what are you talking about? Just because I'm tiny doesn't mean I don't love food.
Now, are you rhyming? You free verse? Or you when you write?
That's a great question. It depends on my mood.
Yeah.
I always feel like when that does happen, when I rhyme intentionally, it was meant to be that way because I don't do that anymore. Okay. Yeah. So like I always
when you started, it was rhyming on purpose.
Right. Yeah. So when it comes out rhyming, it's not intentional. Like some people do it intentional, but like I don't.
Have you ever? I tried. I want to say for maybe like a week, I tried to write a poem in iambic pentameter. Didn't happen.
Right.
I couldn't do it.
That's
something I think maybe you need to be taught.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's a whole other thing. So going back to how many poems I have a hell of a lot. So I'm just saying,
I can see if you can't find one you don't want to read. That's
no,
cool.
I have plenty.
Okay.
But if we're talking happy poems, I can do my quick little.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is this it? Oh no, that's someone else. I mean, this is a nice poem too. This is a romantic love poem.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we could do this, okay. I guess. I don't know. I was going back to when I wrote it, okay? It says April 18th, 2019. And I love doing this poem for a while. Because of the ending. Yeah, and like compliments of like food imagery or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
We could do this one.
Okay.
This was a long time ago, but
3 years?
2019, yeah.
That's not that
he's been gone.
It's what seemed like 3.
20?
Yeah, COVID's make everything seem like way
longer. It does, yeah. Because I can't find my the other poem I thought was in here about food, but we can do that one.
Okay. Next time we'll have your food poem poems. When you come back on at another date, your second appearance, you can have the food poem.
Oh, I would love to do that. I would love that. Yes, I'll actually make a list of poems.
Okay,
and
cool.
Then
we didn't really discuss that, but I figured I would ask.
Yeah, I'll do this poem. Okay. This was interesting at one point. Again, so I'll talk about people who are important in your life. It doesn't have to be for everything for it to be special.
Of course.
So this poem is called Food Offer. Okay. I heard it say, when a man offers you the last of his food, it means love. And I don't know what love is outside of God. But maybe it's like when God sent his only son to be my sacrifice. Like the one thing that's the most difficult to share or give. But when you do, it seems to be an unspoken bond. Like when he offered, I used his fork because I had none. And all I could think about was his lips, tongue, and teeth. That every time I ate, my curiosity was piqued. Because I never known a man to offer me anything outside of his body. Like that was supposed to be everything. Lust has a funny way of talking that I gladly share in this man's food every time he offers because it speaks of unexpected affection. That love can capture before lust, that when he offered me his sweater, I felt it again. Sacrifice for my needs, something no man has ever done for me. And I think it sounds like eternity. That when I thank him for his sweet kindness, he brushes it off like this is what a man does to show interest. So I should just accept it. And that's how I blush. Like when I introduce him to my poet friends more and more, I hide a smile and praise the dark or the rain we sat under because the comfortability he feels with my friends makes me feel safe to bring him to a place I've always felt home in. And it brings joy to my soul when we both react to a dope poem. Though I've heard the poems before, it's different because it's never been with him. And these feelings of delight of bringing him into my gift of vulnerability make me happy. And it's funny how the tiniest of our interactions keep bringing out poems in me. I've never written in such a feeling of joy or ecstasy, something I pray will keep spilling more from my soul because I think it's needed now more than ever. To treasure the aspects of a handsome black man with no strings of lust attached. And that is the difference. of every man who I've ever interacted with, because lust has a funny way of masquerading as love, but none of those men offered me their food, just the lower parts of themselves, and I'm not sure what that says about me. At the time, lust was confused by love, and its pleasure I no longer find, so I'd rather be in this man's presence of sharing his fork and food in poetic nights, that maybe this is the slow beginning of teaching me that love doesn't start with a kiss or giving up your body, that love can simply mean, are you hungry?
Nice. Wow.
I know. Feel
wow.
That was
sounded
a
that
night.
guy like that guy treated you really well.
It was
at least
a cool
when you wrote
time.
that at the time of the poem.
Right, 'cause we was actually we was in Boston in Roxbury. Like, he met me in Boston. I'm like, who does that? No one's gonna drive an hour, and he got there before me, bro.
He was into you.
It was great. It was cool. Movies and all that. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Yeah, like ignoring family and all that. Like, that was a thing. Amazing. It was cool for a time.
Yeah. And now
Yeah, and then that was the poem.
yeah, very nice.
Yeah, dang, I forgot about that one. Oh man, that brought me happy feelings.
Right?
Yeah.
Also 3 years ago, so that was pre-COVID. I think dating, the COVID dating thing it's made things strange, right? You're not just gonna go out to a crowded place and meet someone.
Not anymore.
Right?
It's like I gotta double check and think.
Right?
Like, are you worth me driving X amount? Like, never mind an hour to Boston. Like, come on.
Do you use apps or anything like that? We don't have to talk about your dating life.
I don't date. Like,
Okay,
I don't know what dating is. Like, you know what I mean? I don't. Like, I thought that was a thing, and I thought we were just hanging out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm like, oh, and then my cousin's like, oh no, you guys are dating. I'm like, oh, we are. I don't know. He didn't see it that way, obviously. So
It's not like it used to be, for sure. I guess we can
it's
agree
not.
on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. And I feel like even how relationships go now, it's nothing to do with like, I don't need your phone number. I can just DM you. That's how it goes. I'm like, that's how a lot of my cousins found love, is through a DM and marriages. I'm like, what? My DMs don't look like that.
Yeah.
I don't need a dating app if that's how they're doing it now. Like, I don't.
Well, like back when I was in high school, we'd go out in groups, and then you just within that group you would find, oh, I like her, and that's usually how things started.
Right.
Because there was, like, Mark and I have talked about this back then. Maybe not so much for you because you're a little younger than me, but like back then there was no FOMO. There was like someone would call you and be like, "We're going to the movies tonight." So your choices were go to the movies with your group of friends or not go out. Not text someone else, be like, "Oh, they're going to the movies. Do you want to like?"
Right. An actual phone call had to be made. Yeah. I get that. Yeah, it's wild to me. It's wild. I don't know how it works. I'm like, well, whether how it's supposed to happen. It will happen. Like,
I guess. Well, we said that too. When you're not looking for it, is when.
Right, like how I met that guy that inspired the poem at my favorite coffee shop. That's literally how that happened. I gave him one of my business cards, and like that's how that happened.
Yeah,
like, that's how it would happen with me with some random, like that. You know what I mean? Not on no app. Like I'm open to it. You know what I mean? But like it's too easy to block. If I get bored, I can just delete you, and you're not gonna know.
And that's for me. The apps are like they're fun for a couple weeks, and I'm like, well, I don't really know any of these people. I don't really trust any of these people, so I'm not gonna have anything with them. So then I delete the app. And
exactly, delete, block, all of that. You know what I mean? So I'm like, and all the apps are the same. So I'm just like, it doesn't have to be Bumblebee or whatever the other ones are. I'm like, I don't even know if that's even an app, Bumblebee, but like, you know what I mean? It's wild.
Any poetry apps?
Is there
such a thing?
Actually, yes. I'm not on it anymore, but like 3 years ago, there was like what was it called? Haiku Jam.
Okay.
And like a lot of my poet friends in Boston were like doing it. It was just purely haikus. And like it was like I don't know, people from all over, I guess, but you could like post different haikus, and it was just like a haiku jam app thing, and it was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome for a while.
Maybe 2 or 3 haikus. Have you?
I love haiku.
Yeah. Okay.
I say they're easy, but they're hard if you want them to be good. You know what I mean?
Because you want it to actually have a beginning, middle, and end, and then have kind of not really a story, but like. It's got to say something, right? Or it should say something.
Right.
Yeah.
Haikus are my favorite. I like haikus and tankas. Those are my new favorite.
What's a tanka?
Tanka is like it's an expanding longer version of a haiku.
Okay.
So like the line segment for haikus is
353 or 53.
Yeah, 353, and a tanka is 5775.
Okay.
So it's a little bit longer.
Syllables.
Yes. For those I don't know.
for
yes. Syllable count. Right. Yeah. Tankas are great. Like. And I think it's fun because instead of doing just like a whole bunch of free verse stuff, we can go on forever. Like you're forced to condense your writing.
Well, that's like when I talked about an iambic pentameter trying to write a poem like that. Like you're forcing, like you got to really narrow down those words and the use.
That's hard, right?
Yeah,
stressing on stress, like
and
more
work.
work.
I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Why am I putting my
free verse?
Why am I
I'm a
stressing
free verse poet. I'm not Shakespeare. Like,
right? Well, VNLs, like those are hard as hell to write. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I did that in college, but I'm like, I don't know what I was doing. And now that I know the line time, I'm like, I don't want to really.
Do you have any poet people that you look up that you kind of aspire to be, or are you just kind of your own?
Oh, I love that.
Like, do you read other people's poetry?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually have one of the books in my car. Dang it.
Okay.
I love this question because I always like living or dead, but like if we're saying like living, like alive people, like my friends inspire me. Like I brought during the like a couple months ago, I brought Ebony Stewart's new book, Blood Fresh. He's a dope poet out in Texas.
Okay.
Stephen Willis, I just brought his book, Peculiar People. I'm almost done with that. He's out in Idaho now, but he's from Chicago. So all his poems are from Chicago. I was talking from like the slam scene. That's where like I met all these people. I'm just like, oh my God, what are these feelings? Like, who are you? Like on like national poet, like champions in their own right type people, and like of course I'm gonna buy your books and like brag about you on social media. So that's what I'm reading right now.
Okay.
And then also I just bought Janae Johnson's book. What is it? Something about tenderheadedness. I can't think of the title, but something about tenderheadedness is the poem. Is the name of the poem, and this is like her last book of like poetry because she does a bunch of stuff. Now she was one of the woman of the world champions way back in like pre-COVID stuff.
Okay.
So she was one of the first poets to like inspire me out in Boston.
Okay.
When I first started getting into like outside of church poetry or whatever, to like a whole other type of scene. So it's like she was one of the first people to inspire me. So I haven't opened up the book yet, but like it's these books are heavy. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
well, in a poetry book, you're not supposed to just sit down and read the whole thing, right?
You can't. You're reading and rereading
here and there, and yeah,
right.
And then you reread a poem, you're like, oh, I didn't notice that the first time. And
right. So that's why it's been taking me forever to get through. Like I just finished Emily's book and I'm just finishing like Stephen's book. I'm just like, oh my God. So I know Janae's feelings going to make me cry. And then you're just stuck on the poems because I'm like, how are you writing this deep,
I want to
beautiful
do that.
language? I want to be like that.
That's like when I've said this to one of my friends, like, I think I'm good at playing hockey. And then I watch an NHL game. I'm like, oh, I suck. What am I talking about? Like, I'm good compared to someone that can't skate and can't play hockey. I'm good compared to them. Compared to the NHLer, I suck. Like,
right. I'm not even on the level.
Did you ever do the what was it called, the Dirty Gerund at Ralph's?
Oh yeah.
Those are fun. I did a few of those.
Yeah. Those are good times. It's
it's COVID hit
now.
They did online stuff, I want to say, when COVID first hit, but I don't think they.
Yeah, it actually it got new management people run it now, so I'm just like, it's not Alex. You know what I mean? Yeah,
awesome.
like Alex is amazing.
I went to high school and college with Alex.
Oh wow! Stop it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Alex Charlambides.
Right, amazing. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And I brag on Alex all the time because he saw something in me that I didn't know. When I first started getting into like open mics and my hands were shaking, and he was like, "You're amazing," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" You know what I mean? And like whatever
You're
he
like,
saw.
what are you talking? I'm not disagreeing with you, but what are you talking
about?
Right?
What do you mean? I don't even know if my stuff is together. Right. He was like, "No, like you're gonna be great," and I'm like,
awesome.
"Yeah." And I always like tip my hat off to Alex because I'm like, when I look, so I'm like, "Oh, he was right."
Yeah.
Yeah, like I see it now.
So, we're almost out of time. I'm gonna ask you, what would be your dream gig, whether that's a job or a show or whatever? What would be your dream to be? Would it be a professional poet, writer, speaker, like, or all those things? Like, what's your dream gig? It can't be ABA therapy.
Oh, it can't be?
No. Can it be? I hope not. No.
I know, right? I mean, kind of. I would love to go on like a poetic tour at least once in my life. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like have that be a thing with my saxophone and like play it at like wherever. At least one time. Yeah. Like all over would be nice. Like I want an international travel and be like, yeah, I'm here to do my show. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So what would your show be? Music, poetry? Like would it be a combination?
It'd be a combination because I do love talking about like ABA and autism and all that stuff because it gets to bring enlightenment to people that don't understand autism. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm also passionate about all of that. I'm trying to get my degree in, ABA certificate stuff. So that's cool. That's a whole nother layer. Yeah.
That's, I find myself, you must too, you're pulled in all these. Your writing is pulling you, and your job is pulling you, and getting the degree. Like I mean, that's what life is, right? Where you're putting your energy.
Right.
That's all we are is energy, and where am I putting that?
Right. As long as it's productive and moving, it will make you feel good. You know,
Right.
and all these things do, and they're all inspiring, and all. I mean, I do poems for our school system on a union level too. So it's like it all
That's
fits
cool.
and connect. Yeah,
That's
So
really
talk
cool.
about that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a whole other thing, really quick. But like, so poetry is always on the go, even when I'm not even looking for it.
We should produce a poetry storytelling music show. Where
I'm down.
You have to do all those to get on. You have to do all those things.
Right? Yeah, I'm down. Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out.
All right, everyone. Our guest was Ashley Wonder. Again, if you want to read her poetry, you can go to
www.miraculous.vision.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for being here. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye, y'all.